Raz is a highly, well, sorry, apologies. I'm going to restart that. Ras Gohil is a global financial expert. She's a highly accomplished veteran in the banking industry, boasting an impressive 36-year career marked by diverse leadership roles spanning commercial banking, strategy, credit and risk management, and financial crime and compliance. Her many qualifications include certifications from the Lumina training programs, emphasizing behavioral interaction and leadership skills. During her 4-year tenure at Moody's Analytics, Raz excelled in overseeing tailored training programs that addressed critical areas such as credit and risk, financial crime and compliance, regulatory adherence, and commercial due diligence, as well as sales and service for numerous Tier 1 banks and financial institutions. These programs not only honed technical expertise, but also prioritized essential soft skills, a crucial asset in today's customer-centric and intricate financial landscape. Raz's global experience extends across regions including the UK, Europe, Middle East, Africa, Asia Pacific, and the Americas. So truly global, Raz. She enjoyed a fruitful career at HSBC, where she held various management and leadership positions within its retail, commercial, and corporate banking divisions, with her primary base remaining in London. So, Raz, very warm welcome to you, and I'll hand over to you now, please.
Right, and now I'm already going to have a issue with the, okay, I'm trying to do a share. I'm supposed to be technical, but here we go. Right, where are we? Can you tell me if you can see my slides?
We certainly can. Thank you, Raz.
Okay, right. So again, I think thank you for that wonderful intro, Hina, and also Wayne. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your presentation as well. I'm going to just talk about the summary and the practical applications. And so, Vida, Wayne, they've all kind of talked to you at a high level. I'm going to bring it down to basics, okay? Because we all forget when we move up that ladder, we forget what's on the ground. We forget that's where we started. So what I'm going to do is kind of bring it back to basics and say, right, budgeting, tracking, financial empowerment, whatever you want to call it, it needs to be where we started. And so just to bring it back to basics, I want to kind of talk about that, we're talking about budgeting and this is what I was going to say in Wayne's bit. And I thought, well, no, I'll introduce it here. When Wayne had told the story that at 19, he had, his mum had kind of told him he needed to start budgeting. Mine started a little bit earlier, much, much earlier. And my father was quite strict and his background was very much in the customs excise business. But, and I'm going to show you may be able to calculate my age, you may not. I am a bit of a dinosaur. So I used to get pocket money. Are you ready for all of these that are in the UK? 3 pence a day, 3 pence. That used to allow me a packet of crisps, bar of chocolate. I know, I was only 5. That's what you want to eat. And, a can of a drink or whatever it was, 3 pence. And when I wanted something else, my father would say, you've had your 3 pence for the day. You need to cut out something if you want something more. Now, I didn't know it was budgeting at the time. It was, I want more money and I can't have it. So I've got to try and budget to make sure that I can have what I want the next day. And 3 pence was a lot of money in those days. So I'm going back way, way back. Right? I'm not quite a dinosaur, but yeah. Anyway, so this is when we talk about budgeting, going back to basics is what we need to know. So just looking at this is, Wayne had touched upon this, and I'm sure all of you have come across the SMART objectives that happens in all organizations we talk about. It's in our objectives in terms of what we need to achieve. And it's this one word, SMART. What we need to achieve is actually take this seriously, specific and measurable. So when we talk about specific, measurable financial goals, think about clearly decide what is it, define what you understand by specific and what can it be measured against. And this is the bit I was talking about when I said go back to basics. What is it that you exactly want to achieve? Is it saving money, or is it saving a set amount of money? The difference, there's a big difference. I'm going to save some money, classic line, or I'm going to save £10,000. So the difference is be specific. What is it that you want to achieve? Because if you say I'm going to save money, saving 2p a day is not going to get you anywhere, right? I know people haven't even heard of 2p these days, but in my day we did. And it's kind of thinking about, well, if I have a specific target, I know what I need to budget and save on now to achieve that £10,000 at the end of the day, whatever your target is. Now, we talk about that, but my next point is achievable. Is it realistically achievable? People might be in that situation where they can't even save, and we know where the economy is at the moment. There's a lot around the world below the poverty line. And saving is not, it's not one that's in their agenda. For them, it's survival. So what we need to understand when you're looking at, you want financial empowerment, what is achievable to you? It doesn't have to be £10,000. It can be £500. But all I'm saying is make sure that whatever you set yourself, because I can guarantee you, if you set yourself so high, you will fall at the first hurdle. So make sure that you know you can get there. And the only way you can do that is the things that Wayne had talked about, is if you budget carefully, you know exactly how much income is coming into the house and what your costs are. Okay. The other thing is, make it relevant or realistic. So here, when, you might have, say, saving to buy a car, saving for retirement, saving. So whatever the case may be, it might be to buy a house. It might be that you've got children and you want to educate them. The key thing is don't save and don't budget for the sake of it. Have a purpose. Make it that it's known, thinking, I want to achieve this, and the only way I can achieve it is this. So make it relevant to you, because I can guarantee you that when you do something for a purpose, you will actually do it. When you think it's just generic, I'll leave it today. I won't put that money away today. I'm just going to have a bit of a drink. I'm going to go and have I'm going to go out for dinner. Make it relevant so that you know. And the other thing I'm going to talk about is time bound. We talk about time bound. Set a time. Don't extend that time. So if you've said, I'm going to save this, or I'm going to achieve this in 6 months, it's got to be 6 months to the day. Don't say, I'll just do an extra day because I haven't met my target. I'll just do an extra day. Well, if you haven't met your target, you've gone wrong somewhere along the way. Your budgeting and your tracking hasn't worked. And you need to go back and say, where did I go wrong? Whilst I'm bringing it to basic level, this is life. This is what you need to do, whether you're in a business, whether you're doing it personally, whatever the reason, whether you're doing it for family. If you have not achieved your target in the time that you have put, you've gone wrong somewhere earlier on. And that's why the tracking is important. Because if you're tracking, you'll know that I have got to achieve this to the day, 6 months, 3 months, a year, whatever the case may be. Because when you've done it, you know. And on that is the kind of the key thing. So when we talk about smart, it is this airy-fairy word that organizations and corporates use. I know, I've worked for corporates, so it is. But realistically, on a personal level, as well as if you are business owners, or if you're working, think of those smart objectives and think, how can I realistically achieve all of this? So prioritize your financial goals the way you see fit. Don't do what other people are doing, right? Don't have this, oh, he or she's doing that, I've got to do it. It may not be realistic to you. It may not be relevant for you. Okay, so that's the important thing. I'm going to move on, and I know you'll have the questions at the end. So if there is any questions, please let me know, Hina.
Absolutely.
So moving on to categorizing the goals. And here, you're going to look at me and thinking, planning for retirement, really? And I know Vida mentioned this about planning for retirement. But let me tell you something. you can't plan for retirement early enough. When my daughter left school, she went on to university, probably about 17, 18 years old. And the first thing I did, and I was fortunate because I'd, gone to university and then started a job. And I was fortunate enough that worked for an organization that already put pension into, money into our pension. And I'd said to my daughter, my husband and I sat down and said, right, you're going to start putting some money into a pension. And she looked at me and said, I'm not old, Mum. And I said, yeah, but you will be one day. And you'll thank us for this. Now, when she told her friends, they kind of laughed at her to say, you're only 18. Why does your mum and dad want you to take out a pension? Why are you paying into a pension? Now, she's somewhere in her 30s. I do know her age, but she'll tell me off if I tell you. So she now probably thanks us because whereas she was paying a nominal amount into her pension, her friends and other colleagues, as the older you get, the more you have to put into your pension to actually get what you want at the end of the time you're retiring. She's still putting a nominal amount in. She may have topped it up and what have you. But we started her early because that money is tax-free. It's going to be yours at the end of the day. The earlier you start, the more you're going to get and the less you're going to have to put to achieve that. Vida talked about wealth management and about planning and investing. This is a kind of an investment. This is money that goes in that you can't take out. So when you talk about budgeting and tracking, you can't, I just borrow a bit. You can't borrow a bit. It's not like your savings. It's not like money under your bed. You can't take it out. So that money's gone and it's waiting for you when you do get old, when you retire, when you've got your grandchildren. Okay. So think about planning. Don't, and I'm not going to go into the detail of the investments because that's not what I want to talk about. I want to bring it down to basics. So when I say planning for retirement, please do start thinking. A lot of people don't put money in. Don't get me wrong. Their attitude and their behavior. I come from I've been in the bank as my bio had said, and I've worked for corporates all around globally. But people don't think, oh, I've got loads of houses. That's my retirement. Great. I've got lots of, I've got a business and I've got loads of income. Great. What if you have a major market crash? That investment's gone down the pan. That's going to have an impact on the value of the property. How much is that going to last you? Pensions, to a degree, depending on what you invest in, are to a degree untouchable. To a degree. Okay, I'm not an IFA, but I've worked with them for a long time. So think about when you are planning, budgeting, where can you put the money away that you've forgotten about, but is a nice gift when you decide to retire. Okay, paying down debt. Now, there is this thing that you want to pay down debt because you don't want to have that debt. Yes, but manage that. So when the interest rates are low, leave it as it is and make sure that you can pay it as you can. Because when interest rates rise, that's when you start struggling. So the thing is, pay down if you need to pay down. And if that's the savings you're going to do, then have those savings for that. And when we say pay down debt, majority of organizations, banks, building site, institutions, you can pay monthly or you can pay it off. So when you have the ability to pay it off, pay down the debt. Okay, completely, just get rid of that. It's off your head. It's stress-free. You've got rid of it and pay it down while you can. Interest rates are not great at the moment, especially in the UK, and I would imagine Europe as well. But globally in different, I think, not Vida, I don't know if it was Noella or if it was someone that mentioned about the economy in Nigeria at the moment. So think about that. Can you pay things off? All right. So this is the order. If you remember, I talked about planning for emergencies. So preparing for the unexpected. Who knew COVID was going to have the damage and do the damage it did? There are businesses, big businesses that went under. There were businesses that were, 100 years old that went under because of the pandemic. Can you prepare for that? Probably not. But the key thing here is think of the potential emergencies. Think of where you are. Think of where you are in the world. Think of where you are as an individual. Think of where your business is. How can you prepare for emergencies? In terms of, right, I've got an emergency fund. Great. Can you touch that emergency fund? If you can, it's not an emergency fund. Don't touch that emergency fund, right? And it's I joke about it, but I used to say, you get these barbed wire, electrocuted barbed wire. Put that around your emergency fund because you're never going to touch it. You only take the barbed wire out when you know you're going to need it, when you need it. But the key thing is don't touch it, seriously. And your personal goals. This is saving for whatever you want personally. That's got to be your last thing when you're categorizing the order that you're doing it in. So, you might want to go on holiday. Some people said they've not been on holiday for a long time. You might be budgeting for your personal stuff in terms of courses and career development. All of that is a way of budgeting. And if you want that course because you want to go up that ladder of success in your career, then you've got to start saving in terms of what do I need to achieve. Going back to the SMART goals is what do I need to achieve? If I want to do this course because I want the next step, next rung of the ladder, I need to start knowing what I need to achieve there, what I need to save to be able to do that. Does that make sense to everybody? I know we're going to ask the questions later on, but I hope I'm making sense. And, a lot of you might say, well, this is really basic stuff. Yes, it is. And I don't apologize for that because, as I've said, you need to look at the basics. Now, the short-term and long-term objectives, I'm going to kind of combine, but I just want to talk about in terms of the short term. This is kind of related to savings. This is where I said, have your 6 month or 3 month, 6 month, whatever. Think about what you want to save, how you want to save. And I'm going to talk about later on in terms of the kind of practical solutions that you can use. Bit of a fun thing, but actually it's something that has it actually has meaning. When I talk about the investments and the debt reduction, I'm going to put them together. What I'm trying to do here is develop a budget that you can allocate the funds sufficiently. So allocate the funds for your investments and for your debt reduction. So from whatever income you're getting, think I'm going to put this much into my investments. I'm going to put this much in my debt, to reduce my debt. Don't change that. If you've made that decision, don't say, oh, I'm not going to, I need some money today, this month. Therefore, I'm not going to put anything into my investment or I can't reduce my debt. If you've planned on doing something, follow it through. This is the bit where we get waylaid and we get distracted. So understand thinking, this is what I'm going to do, carry on and do it. Make sure that you invest that fund. And, Vida said it, Wayne said it, track your investments. Nobody else is going to track it for you unless you have a financial advisor who's going to charge you an amount of money to do that. But if you've got someone that can help you track it, then fine, use that person to track it. Your debt reduction, I used to, when I was younger and at university, many, many, many years ago, I used to have this little sheet. It wasn't an Excel. I didn't know what Excel was in those days. I wasn't that techie. But I used to have just a sheet. And it used to be in terms of if I had a credit card. When you're young, you just put everything on a blooming card, don't you? And it was like, how much do I need to pay off this credit card? And I used to have this thing saying, right, I've got to have £50 or whatever the case may be, £10, whatever the case may be, to make sure that my debt is reduced. And when you're visually looking at something and you think, oh, I've only got 200 left. Oh, I've only got to pay 190. I've only got to pay. That psyche, in terms of that psychological impact that it has on you when you visually see your debt going down, not just in a bank account, not just the debt, but visually seen on paper. And then you can track them thinking, oh, I've only got a couple of months before I can pay off my debt. So think of things like that. Think of these, and I'm going to give you some practical exercises anyway. The other thing I would say, and this is kind of related to savings, but also retirement planning, have an automatic with your bank accounts, with any accounts that you have an automatic saving facility where an amount automatically goes from your account into the savings account. I'm sure you all do it, and forgive me if you think I'm going to real basics, but you'd be surprised how many people cancel that because, oh, I can't afford this moment. With the economy the way it is, I can't afford to put that much into the savings anymore, and you cancel it. All I would say is try not to do that. Okay, try not to cancel that savings. Carry on if you can, even if it's for your retirement. Now, this bit, long-term objectives, is very similar in terms of what's your savings, where's your investments. I've got a timer come on me now, so I'm going to just very quickly run through this. Where are your investments and what type are they? Keep reviewing. Don't say, oh, it's fine, it's earning money. Look at what you and speak to your wealth manager or your IFA. How much debt will you have and why? Right? Everybody's in debt at the moment. You need to understand the timescale of what your debt is. Where is it? How much is it? When can I pay it back? And retirement. What does retirement really mean to you? I've been told I should be retiring. I thrive on working. It keeps me sane. It keeps my brain intact. But just to, it's understand, what does retirement mean for you? Does it mean just living in a nice place, traveling, putting money aside for your grandchildren or whatever the case may be? Think about it. What does it mean? So just a few examples that I think you should look at. Think about yourself in terms of the savings challenges that I was going to say. I don't know if you've heard about the 100 envelope challenge. You may or may not have heard of it. What that basically means is over a period of time, you put money into an envelope, right? You can have individual envelopes, or you can have one envelope where you're putting money in all the time. That money over time, and that is something where you put away and you only put the money into that envelope. This is kind of simple things, but you mustn't touch that. You've got to, what I tend to say is have an envelope either on a monthly basis or however you want to save, and sellotape it. And don't open that envelope until your objective has come. So you've set your time. The other thing is a 30-day rule. So this is what we're talking about when you're spending money. Think about if you're wanting to buy something, you think, yeah, I really want that. It may be business related, it may be personal. 30-day rule is go back, think about it. If in those 30 days you have not thought about it, that means you didn't need it and you don't want it. Simple. Look, we're women. We like our shoes. We like our handbags. We like our clothes. We like all of that. Think about it. Do we really need it? And if we want, these are the kind of simple savings that you need to do. The one thing I'm going to end on, how often do we use a card for everything, right? We don't see the physical money leaving our bank account. We see it from a card. It's a card. And what the other thing you can do if you really are budgeting is use cash. I know we say, and Vida mentioned it, cash flow is king, but use the cash, because when you take out cash on a daily or a weekly basis, that's all you've got. Don't have the card. Put your card away. Try it out for a week. Just take cash out that you think you're going to need on a daily basis and only use that cash. If your cash has run out on that Monday, your cash has run out on that Monday. Don't use Tuesday's cash because you've budgeted that you can use. That's what you'll need on the Monday. What's happened that you now need the cash? Your tracking has gone wrong, right? So understand all of that. So all I'm saying is think about the basics. Think about what you can effectively do. And this is for budgeting. This is for businesses. This is for personal. This is for whatever you want to do. But I think my time is up before I get told off. I just want to say thank you for listening, and any questions?
Thank you, Raz. Thank you. And, it's evidence from the chat. Those are some great practical tips that people are absolutely taking on board. I love the fact takes the cash out when the cash is done. That is it. Don't use the following day's cash. That's your 3p experience coming through there. Retirement planning, a subject close to my heart, given that's what I work in. So absolutely, the earlier start, the better. We luckily, I believe, Raz, if that's okay, we have time for one question, if I may put that forward to you, please.
Absolutely. Yep.
Could you please share some common pitfalls in financial goal setting and how best we can avoid them?
Financial pitfalls in goal setting. Right. Okay. I think the key thing here is realistically. So all I would say here is if you are look at a month worth of income, costs, savings, whatever you do, and put it, I say Excel. I use Excel now, by the way. I'm no longer the dinosaur. The dinosaur's grown into something else. So think of that. Look, just thinking, right, this is what I earn. This is what my expenses are. Out of these expenses, this is what I'm using for the luxurious things. This is my absolute must. The thing is, what happens is you end up looking at that thinking, right, I can afford to do this and move money around. Oh, I'll go out today. I know I've got extra money. I'll go out. Don't do that. If you know that this is money that you've got and you think, do I really need to go out? I would say your financial pitfall is that you get distracted in terms of, oh, I've got that little bit extra. Don't use that little bit extra to spend. Use that little bit extra to save, whether it's your retirement, whatever the case may be. Maybe for your kids' university. It might be that you want to save because you want to pay off a debt, or you want to save because you want to buy a car or a house. Don't get distracted from spending that money because you've got that little bit extra. See that as the plus thing. See that as I've got extra money, not, oh, I've got extra money, I'm going to go and spend it. I've got extra money, let me put it away. Okay. My husband's probably laughing. If he heard me, he'd be probably laughing because he's like, yeah, right. I wish you'd practice what you preach, because I tend to get carried away with and think, oh, I've just got a bit more. I'm going to do that. But honestly, the biggest pitfall is that you get distracted because you've got that little bit extra, and instead of trying to save it, you spend it.
So it's that thing about taking the step back and just being sensible about what you do. And we promise we won't tell your husband anything. Correct. There you go. Yeah. Thank you, Raz. I'm sure we can all agree in saying that was extremely useful tips that we've just learned there in the past 20 minutes. So appreciation for Raz, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raz. And if you're happy to answer questions on the chat, Raz, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
I will do.